cover your heads as we deal with this Bible Q&A. Go ahead.
Our Father which art in heaven,
Our Father which art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come,
Thy kingdom come,
thy will be done in earth
thy will be done in earth
as it is in heaven.
as it is in heaven.
Give us this day
Give us this day
our daily bread,
our daily bread,
and forgive us of our debts
and forgive us of our debts
as we forgive our debtors.
as we forgive our debtors.
And lead us not into temptation,
And lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
but deliver us from evil.
For thine is the kingdom,
For thine is the kingdom,
and the power,
and the power,
and the glory,
and the glory,
forever.
forever.
Praise the Lord.
Oh, you ain't got to do that. In Jesus' name,
In Jesus' name.
amen.
Amen.
All right, so we ain't got nothing online right now. So, in-house, y'all got the floor right now. Floor is open to anybody who may have a question pertaining to the Word of God.
I had a question. If biblically, if you guys knew where the I guess the rivers are that I guess watered the whole plain of the Garden of Eden. I actually, I don't know. I was trying to figure it out, and I wasn't trying to go off into no weird doctrines, but there was I came across a brother who kind of broke it down, but they was calling on a different name, but it made a little bit of sense. But that's something that I don't particularly know, because I know you have the. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I know I had outlined it in my notes. Yeah, but just where that area would be exactly, because even a lot of times when people show like, I only ask that because like the area that was a Garden of Eden, I know that's the promised land, and we gonna inherit that one day, and I know it does. It looks like it kind of can pass a little bit more than what they show in modern day, like it's part a little bit of Africa, a little bit of Saudi Arabia, you know what I mean? And not all of it is is rivers, because it does consist of the Dead Sea. You got the Nile, and then you got that body of water that's coming out of Lebanon, Syria.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, it says, Genesis 2 and verse 10, and the river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from whence it was parted and became into four heads. And when it says four heads, it doesn't necessarily mean, like a river or a stream, but, there's different on that geographical location. It's saying, these waters can pass it. The name of the first is Pison. That is it, which compasseth the whole land of Hivala, where there is gold, which I believe that was modern day Saudi Arabia. And the gold of the land is good. There was bdellium and onyx stone. And the name of the second river, Gihon, the same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And I believe that was the Dead Sea. And the name of the third river is the Hiddekel, that which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth is the Euphrates, and I believe that's coming out of Turkey and coming on down. But just trying to get an understanding of
So when they say they join heads, what you just said about that don't mean what?
Well, just because it says four heads, so let me just pull something up. Give me 1 second, bro. All right. What is that? The Red Sea. And then you have the Nile. And then coming out of Turkey, going all the way down, and it lets out into the Persian Gulf. Like it's
You looking
saying,
at a map right now?
huh?
You looking at a map?
Yeah, I'm looking at a map. See, the two rivers that you do have is the river coming out of Turkey and letting out into the Persian Gulf, and then you have the Nile, which is pretty much coming down from the top of Africa. I'm sure it was called something different back in, and coming all the way down into Ethiopia. And then the other bodies of water would be the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. That's pretty much, biblically how you are identifying, what that land is, or what, the Garden of Eden or the Holy Land.
So what's your question?
Oh, is that biblically correct? I only ask because we don't really talk about that so much. So I just happened to be reading in Genesis and just wanted to go, check facts, take a look for myself. That's all.
So is it biblically correct far as in what?
Oh, that's pretty much the whole area. Like, the land that's our land. Father Abraham, that was promised to him and his
Are
descendants.
you talking about far as in like the four heads of the water?
Yeah.
Where they actually was flowing through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So is the Bible biblically correct, or is it where the mapping today associates itself
Yeah.
with where these heads of water are located today? Okay, so are the maps, are they correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe may not, but like, can I go by that? Like I want to, show my kids like, yeah, this is the land that, our forefathers was in right here. Because I know it's more than just where it shows modern day Israel. That's not the whole area.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to establish.
Okay.
Okay.
Hold on for 1 second.
Okay.
And what I'm trying to look at, I'm trying to look at maps. Okay. Okay. The Tigers and the Euphrates. I mean, for one, this map right here, yeah, it looks dead on. And the reason why I say that is because, let's go over to Revelation real quick. Pertaining to the Euphrates River. Because this river is on, like, the Tigris and the Euphrates River is kind of like what separates. This is, what land is that? What is that right there? Is that Asia? Yeah. So it's like the Tigris and the Euphrates River, it kind of like separates Asia from what this map is looking like from Jerusalem, or if what we want to call the Middle East. If that's what, how they label it. Right, modern time, the Middle East. Right, so according to this Revelations, Revelations chapter 7. Hold on for a second. Not Revelation 7. Hold on for a second.
Okay.
Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9. And we understand is that geographically how God had mapped out these 4 bodies of water in this Genesis chapter 2. That's dead on. But the question is asking, are the maps that associate with how God mapped out the 4 bodies of water, are they accurate pertaining to what God has written to us in Genesis chapter 2? So after looking at this map that the brother has showed me, we go into Revelation chapter 9 is because one of the bodies of the water is the Euphrates River. And when God sounds the 6th trumpet, he's going to do something with one of these bodies of water that we see in Genesis chapter 2. So let's pick it up at Revelation chapter 9 and verse 13. And now what we're looking at in this Revelations 9 is we looking at the trumpets. Trumpets are being blown. I'm sorry. This right here is the wrath. Hold on for a second. Revelation chapter 9, 5 angel sounded, I saw a star. No, these the trumpets. So these trumpets being sounded, this is destruction coming from God. So now through God's destruction, we're looking at the first trumpet, second trumpet, so forth, so forth. But now we're looking at this 6th trumpet. So Revelation chapter 9, and let's pick it up at verse 13. Revelation chapter 9 and 13, when you get it, go ahead and read it.
And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before God.
Go ahead. Is your mic on? Yeah, just pull it up. Oh, you good because it's gonna catch you. You good?
Okay.
You good?
Okay.
You good? You can do just like you doing.
Okay. All right, number 15. And the 4 angels were loose.
No, read 14.
14, okay. Saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates.
So he says to the 6th angel, loose the 6th angel, but sound the 6th trumpet. What is saying in verse 15?
And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men.
Go ahead.
And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them.
So now we're looking at how this angel, or these 4 angels, are going to be loosed, and they're going to do something to the Euphrates River. Let's go look at Revelations chapter 6. And let's look at verse. First angel sounded. Let's look at verse. Because it's going to say the same thing in this Revelation 6, but it's going to say, there we go, hold on. It's going to tell you that the Euphrates rivers is going to be dried up. And now by them being dried up, it's going to allow this army, this 200 million man army, or 2 million man army, it's going to allow them to walk over on dry shod. But that river, like I'm looking at right here, is separating Asia and what we call the Middle East today. You know, that's the actual body of water that lays in between the two of them. So now when this river is dried up, it's going to allow the army to march and walk right over. So location-wise with this map that you're showing me is dead on. As far as in like what we're reading right here in this Revelation chapter 9. But I was looking for, because it's going to actually say it. It's going to say he dried up the river Euphrates. But yeah, keep reading that. Keep reading. Go ahead and start back at 17. Okay. The 17 verse.
Okay. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone.
Go ahead.
By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths.
So it's issue out of their mouths, and we talking about war at this time. We talking about all-out warfare. I think I found it. 7. Yeah, I think I found it. Hold on. 8, 7, 9. Where's she going? Did she go last weekend? She didn't go last weekend, did she? You know the brother gonna want to roll. I don't care. Make sure you ask your mama. Love you. Let's go over here to let's go to Joel. Joel real quick. Joel, that ain't it. Zechariah, that's what I meant. Zechariah 14. Hey, my navigation ain't all so, but hey, I got Google on my side, so.
I know that's right.
If I don't get it in my head, you're going to definitely see these fingers typing. Zechariah 14. And, you know what? Hold on. Let me do that just like what I just said. But let's read Zechariah 14 though, because this is the same event that we just saw in Revelations. Revelation chapter 8. This is the same exact event that we're about to read in this Zechariah 14. They both the same event that's going to take place at a set time. So Zechariah 14 and pick it up at verse 1. Go ahead and read it.
Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity.
And we talking about when the river Euphrates is dried up. And at this time, you're going to have this million-man army going to actually walk through dry land into Jerusalem and whoop it down. So that's what we're reading right here in Zechariah 14. But keep going, though.
And the residue of the people shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall the Lord go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle.
So as when the Lord fought in the day of battle, he going to fight against these nations the same exact way. But go ahead.
And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives.
So his feet. So God got feet. So his feet, they're going to be standing at a physical location here on this earth, on the Mount of Olives, Mount of Olivet. But go ahead.
Which is before Jerusalem on the east. And
go ahead.
And the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west.
All right, that's it on that. Let's go over to Revelation 16. I found it. Oh. Revelation 16.
Revelation 16 and 12.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I beat you to it.
Don't worry about it.
Revelation 16. And verse by birthright. So I am Jacob then. 16 and verse 12. Go ahead.
And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates,
Go ahead.
and the water thereof was dried up.
So the water there was dried up now, but we seeing on your map, we seeing that the Tigris River and the Euphrates River is a body of water that God was talking about in Genesis chapter 2, that it has to be set up the same location as to how we read it in Genesis 2. So the map that I'm looking at is showing how the Tigris and the Euphrates separate Asia from Jerusalem or the Middle East. So we see is that what it says is, verse 12, it says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water there was dried up. To do what?
That the way of the kings of the east might be prepared.
So that the ways of the kings of the east. Because we talking about what? East from that location. See that? I'm sorry, east would be in that location. So it's talking about the kings of the east. Well, we talking about what? That 1 million man army. That they're going to be able to like just walk through the dry land into the Middle East or the middle of whatever they want to call it. But they're going to walk into that land, and what we saw in Zechariah 14 is that they're going to shoot up the houses, they're going to rape the women, they're going to do all of that. But what it says in verse 13, though?
And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet.
So you can't have an unclean spirit coming out of something that's unclean. That's conversation. That's what they're having right here. They're having conversation, you know what I mean, pertaining to this war, pertaining to what's actually going to take place. So it says, and I saw 3 unclean spirits, like frogs, come out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. Verse 14.
For they are the spirits of devils, worketh miracles, which go forth into the kings of the earth.
That's it on that. So, Cam, that's what I got as far as in like some of the maps, because I was just, before you gave me your map, I was just looking at another map that was kind of off. You know, and they was talking about,
I'm glad I found it. Someone told me to show it.
yeah, they was talking about, they was talking about Turkey. Yeah, they was talking about like these 4 bodies of water, they in Turkey. And I'm like, huh? I'm like, nah, that can't be the case. You know?
The thing about these two rivers is they let out into a sea. The Arabian Sea or the Dead Sea are a body of water.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's gonna start at some high point and flow down, but it's pretty much the outline of the land of Israel. Look for these bodies of water. That'll tell
Right.
you what I'm saying. This is where the garden was.
Right,
This is the
right,
Holy Land.
right. So when you look at the Dead Sea, though, the Dead Sea ain't nothing but a river, though.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. One of them, it's either the
Red Sea?
the Red Sea. No, one of them is like, you can't even drink the water because it's so, the salt content in it is so like, it's crazy. Like, fish don't even live in that water. It's the Dead Sea? Yeah, that's probably why they call it the Dead Sea, because it ain't no fish. Yeah, but that ain't nothing. It ain't even a sea. It's a river. Or, no, it's a lake. I had looked at it, because I always thought that it was a, of course, it's called the Dead Sea, but it's actually,
It's in Israel, right?
it's over there near it.
I had a ball player that played over there. He said you could go out there and float in it.
Yeah, I'm seeing images of people just floating in it.
Yeah, because you can. No, that's what it does. It allows you, like, it's not like, your typical body of water, because it's so the salt content in it is so high until it allows you to float. Like, that's something else that it allows is something, I've never seen.
He
but,
said he healed his sores too, though, when he went in there.
oh, okay.
Like, came out, he was healed.
Yeah.
That's good sea salt. Salt heal your soul, put some on the burning. The question I want to ask is, a lot of these people think that when the Lord take their breath, it got a name on it. So when they go to heaven, they think they name go up there with him and the soul go down to the ground. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Okay. Okay. So, and they probably got that from not even that, but Ecclesiastes. About how they say how the breath of man goes up and the beasts, they go down. You know, probably where they could have got it from. But, you know, we understand. Let's go and look at Genesis real quick. Is that, you know, God is the one that gives the breath of life. So once he take it, you now a dead soul. It's over with. It ain't no you going out to be with the Lord. Yeah, that breath of life is, but you, per se, is not. And the reason why that breath of life is going out to be with the Lord is because he's the one that gave it. So it's just going back to him. In other words, he's collecting on his breath.
So it's not a breath. It's not a name with a breath on it.
It's a spirit. We're going to see that. We're going to see that even Job calls it spirit. You know what I mean? But nah, it ain't got no name to it. You know, it's the breath. We finna read right here in this Genesis that God called it. We'll read it. Genesis chapter 2. And let's pick it up at verse 6.
Verse 6.
Yeah, Genesis chapter 2 and 6. Go ahead and read it, bro.
But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground.
Go ahead.
And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground,
Go ahead.
and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul.
So this is God forming Adam. And through him forming Adam, he took the dust of the ground and breathed into the nostrils the breath of life. And Adam became a living soul. Let's go over to Genesis chapter 7 real quick. Genesis chapter 7. And let's pick it up at verse 14. Genesis chapter 7 and verse 14. And this is right here, this is what was going to take place, or this is God prepping up Noah, letting him know what's going to take place before this flood get here. Go ahead.
They and every beast after his kind, and all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, and every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort.
So God is talking about everything. You know, all the beasts of the fowl of the air, the beast of the earth, whatever. It says of every sort. What it say in 15?
And they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 3 of all flesh,
Go in.
whereas in the breath of life.
Wherein is the breath of life. But we see is that what? God breathed into Adam's nostrils the breath of life, and he became a living soul. Let's go over here to this Job real quick. Job chapter 14. Job 14, and now let's see the breath of life being interchanged to something else. But it's all the same. You know, it's all the same. You know, far as in when you die, where it goes back to. You know, it goes back to the one who gave it. So Job 14, and let's pick it up at let's pick it up at verse. Hold on, let me go to my marked up book. Not Job 14, Job 26. 27, Job 27. Go ahead and read it, bro. Job 27 and verse 1.
Okay. Moreover, Job continued his parable and said, As God liveth, who have taken away my judgment, and the Almighty, who have vexed my soul.
Go ahead.
All the while my breath is in me.
So all the while my breath is in me, meaning like all the while that I'm living. What are you going to do?
And the Spirit of God is in my nostrils.
So we see is that now we see Job calling his breath of life the Spirit of God. But it's in his nostrils. What is it in verse 4?
My lips shall not speak wickedness.
So Job's saying like, man, all the while that I got life in me, man, all the while that I got this spirit or this breath of life inside of me, like, I'm not going to speak any wickedness. Go ahead.
Nor my tongue utter deceit.
Nor my tongue shall utter deceit. Let's go over to Ecclesiastes now. Let's see where this breath go at. You know, the one who gave it. Let's see what he going to do with it when he collect on it. Do he just let it float into the atmosphere? Ecclesiastes chapter 12. And let's pick it up at verse 12 and verse 1. Go ahead and read it.
Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth.
So in other words, like right now, I would consider myself to be the youth or young. That's what he's talking about. So in other words, he's like, man, remember the Lord in the days of your youth. Go ahead.
While the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh.
So them evil days when you're on your time of death. You know, when you starting to age and when you starting to transcend from, you know, you having a half full of head to you having little patches. Or, you know, now your back used to hurt, but now it's aching. So it's like now, you know, the days of youth, while the evil days come not. Nor the years draw near when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. What it say in verse 2?
While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain.
Go ahead.
In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease, because they are few, and those that look out the windows be darkened.
Keep reading, verse 4.
And the doors shall be shut in the streets.
Go ahead.
When the sound of the grinding is low.
So in other words, like as you start to get old or get in age, you know, your hearing start to get lack. You know, your vision start to get dim. You know, that's the example of what Job is giving you right now. And that's why he said, remember the Lord, remember thy Creator in the days of thy youth. But keep reading though.
And he shall rise up at the voice of the bird.
Go ahead.
And all the daughters of music shall be brought low.
So all the daughters of music, all the sounds of the animals, like you ain't going to really be able to hear it because your ears or your hearing is going to be pretty dim. But what it say in verse 5?
Also when they shall be afraid of that which is high.
So they're going to be afraid of heights. You know, they're going to be afraid of things because you're going to be at an age to where like, shoot, I was that young buck back then. I could probably sustain this fall, but now, man, this fall going to hurt. So it's like now, you know, your consciousness don't change because you beginning to age at this point. So that's why he's saying it's like, also when they shall be afraid of that which is high. Go ahead.
And fear shall be in the way.
Go ahead.
And the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail.
So even a grasshopper, like the littlest thing is going to be, they're going to frighten you now. You know, you're going to be afraid at certain sounds and things to that effect because this is what come with when you begin to age. But what else to say?
Because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the streets.
So now we get into the death. And we looking at now is that after all of this is said and done, what takes place with man? He goes to his long home. And the mourners go about the streets. And what it say in verse 6?
Or ever the silver cord be loose, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern.
Go ahead, verse 7.
Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was.
So as the dust return back to the dust, that's what you are. You are the dust that returned from the earth. We saw in Genesis chapter 2 is that God took the dust of the earth, breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. So now as you begin to, you know, age to the point where you finna die, you going back to your first estate, which is the dust that came from the earth. But what's going to happen to that spirit? Go ahead.
And the spirit shall return unto God who gave it.
So the spirit, that's going to go back to God. Without a name. You know what I mean? Like, Nah, it's gonna. I mean, you know, when the Lord return, He gonna put that same spirit back in your body and resurrect you. You know, like that's gonna be your breath of life. But I mean, nah, it ain't got no name on it. You know, it's just what's in your nostrils. It's the breath of life, which is, you know, the spirit, what God put inside of man in order for him to do what we doing right now, walking and talking. You know, if we ain't got the breath of life in us, then what? We dead souls. But we see is that, you know, the spirit, that went back to the one who gave it, which was God. Let's go look at this let's go look at Job real quick. Job Job. Hold on for a second. Huh? All right, well, we're still going to look at this Job, though. Let's look at Job 17. Hold on. Well, not Job 17, but hold on.
Mm-hmm.
Let me look at it right quick. Might have been Ecclesiastes, though. I think it's in Ecclesiastes. I think Solomon said it. Yeah, he did say it. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 9. Yeah. Ecclesiastes chapter 9. This is what and from what it sounds like, you know, the statement is made based upon what Solomon wrote here. How that, you know, man's spirit go upward. That's what it sounds like, this right here. So let's pick it up at Ecclesiastes chapter 9 and verse 3. You can go ahead and read it.
All right. This is an evil among all things that are done under the sun.
The evil we talking about is what we just got finished reading in that Job 27. You know what I mean? About how, like, you go back to your long home, which is the dirt. But what take place is you return back to the earth, and that spirit goes back to God, the one who gave it. So that's the evil that's done among the sun. This is an evil among all things that are done under the sun. That what?
That there is one event unto all.
Mm-hmm.
Yea, also the heart of the sons of men is full of evil.
So while we still living, the Lord is clearly saying, like, shoot, man's heart is still full of evil. But guess what? There's an event to all. Go ahead.
And madness is in their heart while they live. And after that, they go to the dead.
So after all of that is said and done, you go back to the dirt. What is saying verse 4, though?
For to him that is joined to all the living, there is hope.
Go ahead.
For a living dog is better than a dead lion.
So a living dog is better than a dead lion, because once you dead, it's done. Like, it's a done data. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't no you trying to get your last repentance in with God. Nah, because that's it. So that's why he's saying is that a living dog is better than a dead lion. Because what? Verse 5.
For the living know that they shall die.
See, the living, we know. You know, when we go to these funerals, we know that eventually that can be us in that box. That's what we do know. We know that we got a set time. But what the dead don't know.
But the dead know not anything.
So they don't know anything. When they land there in that pine box, like, they not looking at you while you talking to them. You know, that's why to me, like, funerals is eerie to me. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even recall the last time I've been to one. I think the last time I've been to one when I was in high school and it was my grandma. But it was just an eerie feeling because I'm going to look at a dead body, but, like, they don't see me visiting them. You know what I mean? Because they dead. But keep reading, though.
Neither have they any more a reward.
Go ahead.
For the memory of them is forgotten.
So the memory of them is forgotten. Like, that's the end of that. But go ahead.
Also their love and their hatred.
I don't even think I thought it was in this verse. Hold on. Yeah, man, I thought it was in here. But you can keep reading, though.
And their envy is now perished.
Go ahead.
Neither have they any more a portion forever in anything that is done under the sun.
That's it. Let's go over here to this because I thought it was in that verse that I was trying to find. Preeminence. Where is it at? Preeminence. Hold on. Oh. It's in Ecclesiastes. But it's in chapter 3, though. This is what I was looking for, brothers and sisters. Or Tony, he don't left, but
Chapter 3.
yeah, this is where I think they get that from. When they be like, oh, you know, the spirit of the man go up. Chapter 3 and 19. We'll get right to it.
For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts.
So that what befall the sons of men, it befall beasts. Meaning like the same death that occurs with the beast, the same death occur with me or with mankind. So, you know, it ain't like, you know, a beast gonna die a certain way and I get a better death. Nah, we all both gonna give up the ghost. But keep reading though.
Even one thing befalleth them.
Go ahead.
As the one dieth, so dieth the other.
So exactly. So just like man died, the beast died. Go ahead.
They have all one breath.
So exactly. We all got one breath. You know, the dog I saw here when I was driving to class, like he got the same breath as I got. You know what I mean? He get hit by a car, guess what? He giving up the same breath that I'm going to give up if I get hit by a car. So in other words, like when it comes to the breath of life, like we ain't got no preeminence over the beast. You know, that's just like you take a goldfish out of water. It start croaking because it need to go back in the water where, hey, you hold somebody's head under some water, they going to be croaking. We both going to die the same exact death. We both giving up the breath. Keep going, though.
So that a man have no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity.
Go ahead.
All go unto one place.
Go ahead.
All are of the dust, and all turn to the dust again.
Exactly. We all going to return to the dust because that's where we came from. But keep reading, though. Verse 21 is where I think people come and they try to do something crazy with this verse. Go ahead.
Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward,
Go ahead.
and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth.
Exactly. So, you know, people will be like, man, what you mean? Like, you know, the spirit of man that go upward and the spirit of the beast that go down, man, it's just talking about men. We walk upright. We walk on our 2 feet. Beasts, they walk on all 4s for the most part. We ain't talking about kangaroos, but they still beasts. You know what I mean? But for the most part, all men walk upright, so our spirit gonna go up. The beasts, they walk on all 4s, so they spirit going down. But it's still going to the one who gave it, which is God. Go ahead.
Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his own works.
So we should rejoice, and at the end of all of this, man, you're gonna die. So just rejoice. Just enjoy the time that you got here on this earth serving God. Because we saw in Job chapter 20, we saw in Ecclesiastes, how like, man, remember your creator in your youth. So that's really it on that. I mean, it's just really just saying that, you know, the spirit of man, like, it go up because we walk upright. You know what I mean? Versus beast. they walk on all fours, it just go down. It ain't saying nothing special there. But go ahead. What you got, Cam?
And I just wanted to chime in on that
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, I'm a man. I'm a carnal being. That's all I understand. And how the Lord breaks it down, you know, where He is and His existence is so much more than just mankind. You know what I'm saying? Where we know different than the beast, but it's hard for me to kind of get, you know, on this level because I've been a man my whole life. Like all I understand is the material things that I can touch and I can see and what I can, you know, comprehend in my mind to even understand, like, you know, okay, you know, it's not a normal thing to sit there and contemplate about death or what's going to happen in the afterlife. You know what I'm saying? I only understand the experience as a man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's sometimes the spiritual things, only comprehend the spiritual things because I can read about them. But, you know, in my normal day-to-day thinking, you know, it's just the day-to-day stuff, you know. Work this job, get this money, you know, pay this, enjoy a little amenities that life has to offer, you know, and enjoy my wife, being able to come around my brethren, have a drink and talk. And, you know what I'm saying, just again and again. But every day, you know, I'm growing older and the body's corrupting. You know, I'm going to the grave one day. You know, and I believe one time, I think Nate was up here and pretty much, you know, something that came out of his mouth that astounded me. Like he's looking forward to being a God, looking forward to being an eternal being. And that kind of astounded me because most people don't even make statements like that. Like people, you know, they lusting after, you know, getting something material in the world or a better situation or, you know, getting a woman or whatever. But somebody who's thirsty, like, you know, I want to be like God. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for me to have that same type of zeal.
Right.
So I just wanted to chime in on that.
No, and that is the case. You know, like when we walking in this body, man, like let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Because yeah, we all gonna die. Not everybody, but for the most part, some people are gonna taste death. But even for the ones that don't die and see the coming of the Lord, that body gonna die though. You know what I mean? Like that flesh and blood body gonna have to be made something different. You know, and that's what isn't being taught to the so-called Christian church or those that even believe in a God. Like they don't get this type of learning because they feel as if like some spooky story. You know what I mean? Like when you die, you go off to be with your God or whatever. But they don't even, it's kind of like when you look at the map, how God got this whole thing laid out, like there's nothing to compare to it. That's why in that Isaiah 34 it said it don't need a mate. Because what we can read right here is like God is in the business of resurrecting men to be gods. You know what I mean? Like he ain't in the business of resurrecting all dogs go to heaven. Like, come on, man. Like they gonna die. That's the one difference man got over beasts. Is that yes, we don't have no preeminence over them when it comes to the breath because we all give it up. But the advantage that we do have is that, shoot, my lab that I had like some years ago, when he died. That's it. Jesus didn't die for his sins because he didn't sin. He was a dog. You know what I mean? Jesus died for my past sins. So in other words, if I die right in Christ, at his seventh trumpet, he's going to raise me up. That's the advantage that we got over the beast. So let's look at this 1 Corinthians 15 real quick. You know what I mean? Because it is something that, you know, sometimes it's hard to fathom. It's that, shoot, man, I'm going to be a God one day. You know what I mean? And I want to be a God. Well, we're going to be immortal someday. You know what I mean? Because the immortal statement is broad. God isn't broad because you know you're going to be God rolling with the Father and the Son. But spiritual or an immortal being is a broad statement because, shoot, you might not be rolling with God and the Father. You might be rolling with Satan. But we do know is that you're going to become immortals. So let's look at this 1 Corinthians chapter 15, and let's pick it up at verse 50. And this right here is just giving you the resurrection. You know what I mean? This is actually talking about the resurrection of God, letting you know what's going to take place. And Paul put it in a pretty perfect perspective as to our understanding. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 50.
Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God.
And flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God. And we talking about the Father's kingdom. Because, of course, in Jesus' kingdom, according to Isaiah 66, you're going to have flesh and blood in Jesus' kingdom. You're going to have judgment going on. You're going to have sacrifice going on. That's going to take place in Jesus' kingdom. But pertaining to the Father's kingdom, ain't no flesh and blood going to inherit it. Go ahead.
Behold, I show you.
Finish that up.
Neither doeth corruption inherit incorruption.
So no corruption ain't going to inherit incorruption. You know what I mean? Meaning like this corrupt body, like, you know, it's going to have to inherit incorruption because it's going to have to get something new. But go ahead, verse 52. I'm sorry, 51.
Behold, I show you a mystery.
Go ahead.
We should not all sleep, but we should all be changed.
So we're not all going to die. That's what he's getting at when he says sleep. But we shall all be changed. Go ahead.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trump, for the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed.
So we shall be changed. The dead is going to be raised incorruptible because now the dead is getting a new body. They're getting a body that's no longer going to be corrupt, but it's going to be incorruptible. What else is saying?
For this corruptible must put on incorruption.
Go ahead.
And this mortal must put on immortality.
So now this body got to put on immortality. This body that we got right now. This body that when I play about 4 games of basketball, I can't even walk up my stairs in my house. You know what I mean? Because this body is corrupt. It's been beat up. You know what I mean? So I ain't got to deal with that no more at the 7th trumpet, Lord willing, if I'm resurrected with Jesus. Because now I got a new body, which is immortal. What else it say?
So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality.
And I can understand what the brother is getting at. You know what I mean? How we work, how we live with our wives, our kids. You know what I mean? Work, take care of bills, do this and that. But at the end of it all, we die. Yeah, that is the case. But you got to realize you're going to get up, though. See, that's the beauty of it. Like, you got to realize, like, the Hindus don't give you this. They tell you when you get up, you come back as a rat. That's what they tell you. You know what I mean? But the Hindus, they don't give you this. Islam, they give you the same thing that Sunday churches give you, is that when you die, you go off to the 7 heavens. That's what they give you. So in other words, no other wind of doctrine give it to you like the Bible. So we see right here, we see is that for this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality. What is saying 54?
So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written. Oh, okay, that is written. Death is swallowed up in victory.
So death now has been defeated. You know, this is when, all right, Israel, this is when death has been defeated. At this time. Because now, ain't no more dying. Because you got a brand new body. You got an immortal body. You no longer live like us in this room. So that's when, you know, death is going to be defeated. But, you know, man, I definitely read 55.
O death, where is that sting?
Go ahead.
O grave, where is that victory?
So death, it is a sting. You know what I mean? Because, like, shoot, it come like a thief in the night. So when it happens, it's like, man, that brother was here one day, now he gone. That's the sting of death. And then it's saying like, oh grave, where's that victory? Like, you ain't winning no more because now we dealing with nothing but immortals. That's what we dealing with at this time. But what is saying 56?
The sting of death is sin,
And that is the sting of death. Sin. Go ahead.
and the strength of sin is the law.
That's it on that. So, I mean, you know, I can understand, you know, the brother, as far as in like, yeah, I mean, that's, I mean, right now what we can do is we can live what? With the wife of our youth. That's what Solomon was saying. You know what I mean? Enjoy life while we still can, while we still breathing. You know what I mean? Because it ain't nothing wrong with that. That's really all we can do. But let me look at one more place, and I'm going to come to you, Pop. If you don't mind me calling you. That's just me, you know, okay. Proverbs. Let's go look at Ecclesiastes chapter 9. I call Cephas mom. I call it, you know what I mean? Like they deserving of that title. So, you know, it ain't, you know, but hey, he said don't mind. It's cool. Ecclesiastes chapter 9. And let's look at this 9th verse. Go ahead and read it.
Live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of thy life, of thy vanity.
So that vanity, that's life. He's saying it's vanity because what? We just got finished reading at the end of it all, you died. But it says, live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of thy life. So in other words, while we here in this body, in this world, this carnal world that we living in, understanding, you know, how we supposed to be serving God, shoot, if you married, enjoy the days of you and your wife. You know what I mean? Because after all is said and done, shoot, she either going to be burying you or you going to be burying her. Or y'all both might be alive to see the coming of the Lord.
Amen.
But keep reading though, bro.
Which he have given thee under the sun.
So the Lord is the one that gave you this. He gave you this wife that, you know, whom thou lovest all the days of thy life, which he have given thee under the sun. Go ahead.
All the days of thy vanity.
Keep reading.
For that is thy portion in this life.
Go ahead.
And in thy labor which thou takest under the sun.
So all of that, what you labor, even your wife, enjoy it. Because what he said in verse 10.
Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might.
Go ahead.
For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave, whither thou goest.
You see that? So in other words, while you live and enjoy it. Because you can't take it with you. But you know, other than that, man, you definitely right, though. You know, we just got to enjoy what we got while we living and just look forward to the coming of the Lord. You know? What you got?
I was trying to get some verses on how how when the Assyrians was trying to attack Judah from the I guess from the south, and they I guess baptized or brought the Edomites, taught them the ways of the Israelites. You familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Let me see, because I don't think. Let's go and look at Obadiah real quick. Because I don't think, like, it's, I mean, I could be wrong, but some of that, you know, let me think. Some of that occurred in history, you know. And what I mean by that is, let's go look at this right quick. Let me think on it a little bit more before I make my statement.
Okay.
Let's look at this Obadiah real quick. Obadiah chapter 1. And let's pick it up at verse 1.
The visions of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, let us rise up against her in battle.
Go ahead.
Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised.
So, you know, he's like, man, I done made you small among the heathen, but, you know, thou art greatly despised. Go ahead.
The pride of thy heart has deceived thee.
Now, we talking about Edom at this point. You know, that's why he said in verse 4, the vision of Obadiah, thus say the Lord concerning Edom. So he said, the pride of thy heart have deceived thee. Go ahead.
That thou dwellest in the clefts of the rocks, whose habitation is high.
Go ahead.
So that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground?
So they pride in their mind, like, who gonna bring us down? You know, we in the clefts of the rocks, meaning like we high-minded. But we, you know, we on a whole nother level. But what it say in verse 4?
Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord.
So the Lord is gonna bring Esau down. Keep reading, verse 5.
If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how are they cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had enough?
Go ahead.
If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they have not leave some grapes?
So, you know, you would have left some, right? You know, if you a thief, like, you ain't gonna steal everything. You're gonna leave at least something. You know, but he getting there like they stole everything. Skip down to verse 8 and read that.
Shall I not in
I'm
that?
sorry. Read verse 7.
So, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border.
Go ahead.
The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee, that they eat thy bread, have laid a wound under the tree, under thee. There is none understanding in him.
So there is no understanding in him, but it said what? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the borders. Verse 8, go ahead.
Shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom,
Go ahead.
and understanding out of the mount of Esau,
Verse 9.
and thy mighty men, O Teman,
So he talking about Esau, that mighty man, OT man. Go ahead.
shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter.
Go ahead, verse 10.
For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever.
So he said, for the violence against thy brother, Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and you'll be cut off. What it says in verse 11.
In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captives his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates.
You see that? Foreigners entered into his gates. So Israel was carried out, and now you got foreigners entering into the gates, which is what we see now. You know, the so-called Jews being placed there, but as we was taken out. But keep reading. What else it say?
And cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast one of them, as one of them.
Exactly. So it says, even thou was as one of them. He talking about Esau being as one of the foreigners who entered into the land or entered into his gates. What it says in verse 12.
But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger.
Go ahead.
Neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction.
And that's what Esau did. You know, he kind of handed us into, you know, when captivity took place. It's kind of like he handed us into the hands of, you know, those that took us captive. But go ahead.
Neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress.
Go ahead.
That thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity.
So in other words, the Lord is like, you shouldn't have entered into the gate, you know, in the day of their calamity. In other words, you handed Israel over to the captives, like you shouldn't have went into the land as if it was yours. And we're going to get to, I mean, I'm just trying to build in my head just so I could pinpoint, because I mean, we going to get to it, but keep going though.
That thou shouldest not have looked on their afflictions in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity.
You see that? So it's like the Lord is telling Esau, it's like, man, I'm going to cut you off because you shouldn't have entered into the land when they got cast out. You shouldn't have even put your hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. What it say in 14?
Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape.
So they went and caught the one that tried to escape. Like they stood in their crossways. You know, they had their hand in the whole plan of Israel going into captivity. Go ahead.
Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress.
Exactly. Let's go over to this Psalms real quick. This Psalms 94. Psalms 94. And what we saying is we even going to go look at Psalms 84, not 94. We're going, that's what I had said. That ain't your fault. Psalms 83. But we even going to look at even when you look at Saul, like Saul had an Edomite that set up over Israel. Saul was the king now. So apparently, like, this Edomite, you know, he had to have done something in order to get that position. Something. You know, he had to have known something. You know, but like, yeah, he was set up. Even when you look at, you know, Herod, he was an Edomite. You know what I mean? And he was set up over Israel. You know, but I'm trying to see in my head, is there somewhere where like they was taught? I mean, they was taught. Let's just keep reading and some might come to mind. Let's look at this Psalms 83. Psalms 83 and verse 1. And we looking at how, you know, those that came confederate with Edom or Esau. Go ahead and read it.
Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies made a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head.
Go ahead.
They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
See, they don't took crafty counsel against our people. Go ahead.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Go ahead.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
So they said what? Come and let's cut them off from being a nation. Go ahead.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
So the name Israel. That's why if you look at us today, you call Jake just walking out down the block. What's up, Israel? They look at you like you crazy. Like, what you talking about, Israel? You know what I mean? But that's according to the scriptures. Let's cut the name Israel off so they won't be remembered. Because we don't know that we Israel. It's a mystery unto us. But keep reading, though.
For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee.
So they all became confederate against Israel. Go ahead.
That the tabernacles of Edom.
So we're looking at those that became confederate with one another. So it says what? The tabernacles of Edom. Go ahead.
And the Ishmaelites.
Keep reading.
Of Moab and the Hagarenes.
And the Hagarenes and Moab. You know, Moab is Lot's daughter. I mean, Lot's sons. Why? Who? He throwing up? He must have got a bug like that. Yeah, I got the keys. Oh, yeah, that's right. I got the van keys. All right, love y'all. Come here, man. Ain't got no fever, do it? All right. Can you help her take them babies to the car, man, if you don't mind? All right, appreciate you. Go ahead, though. Verse 4.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Verse 6.
Okay. The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab and the Hagarenes.
Go ahead.
Jebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre.
So these were all that came confederate with having Israel taken out of the land. They all became confederate with one another. But we see at the very top, we see that Edom was at the top. Let's go look at this 2 Kings real quick. I think I found something. Let's look at this 2 Kings chapter 8. Second Kings. Okay. Let's look at 2 Kings chapter 8, and let's pick it up at pick it up at verse. Let's pick it up at verse 10 and we'll skip. We'll skip around.
And Elisha said unto him, Go, say unto him, thou mayest certainly recover. Howbeit the Lord hath showed me that he should surely die.
Go ahead.
And he settled his countenance steadfastly until he was ashamed, and the man of God wept.
Skip down to verse 14 and read that.
So he departed from Elisha and came to his master, who said unto him, What said Elisha to thee? And he answered, He told me that thou shouldest surely recover.
Go ahead.
And it came to pass on the morrow that he took a thick cloth and dipped it in water and spread it on his face, so that he died, and Hazael reigned in his stead.
Go ahead.
And in the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being the king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat.
So we see that at this point the kingdoms have been split. You know, we see is that what? And it says in the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being the king of Judah, and Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. I'm sorry, this ain't the split. The split hadn't took yet just yet. But go ahead, verse 17.
32 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem.
Go ahead, verse 18.
And he walked in the way of the king of Israel, as did the house of Ahab, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord.
So Ahab was tripping. You know what I mean? He did evil in the sight of God, but you know Ahab's wife was Jezebel. But go ahead, verse 19.
Yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for David, his servant's sake,
So he wasn't gonna destroy Judah for David's sake. Why?
as he promised him to give him always a light and to his children.
Go ahead, verse 20.
In the days of Edom,
In his days, go ahead.
In his days, Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah
So Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah. Go ahead.
and made a king over themselves.
So they made a king over themselves. So it's like they was up under Judah, but what they revolted, meaning they got away from Judah. Let's go over to this 1 Kings real quick. Let's see if we can pinpoint this. 1 Kings 22. And what I was gonna say, I'll say it now because I don't think it's much that we can just pull, even though we know that's the case. Because when we look at how they set up. In other words, they call themselves Jews. Why? Because they don't stole our identity. You know what I mean? That's what they did. You know, when you look at Esau and Jacob, you know what I mean? Like, Jacob was the one who Isaac made the promise to Jacob. The covenant was established between Jacob and, you know, from that point, it went to the 12 tribes. But even from that point, man, like Esau just been, you know, he been in the rearview mirror, understanding like, okay, this how they move, this how that move. That's how they know about, you know, Passover and unleavened bread, and even they want to call themselves the Jews is because they took our heritage, they took our culture. You know what I mean? Even when you go look into the history about how the books was burned and, you know, things to that effect. I think that was dealing with pertaining to the Romans, but you know, a lot of our history was whitewashed because that's what we see today. You know, we see that you call the so-called Jews, you know what I mean, the Jews, but they not according to history nor of the Bible. So even, I don't recollect is that there's just a layout in here as to how like we taught them. You know what I mean? But we know that's the case though. I could be wrong, like, you know, somebody like Jediah, Nate, whoever, they'll see the video and they'll probably come back and be like, yeah, it was a period inside of the Bible. But from my lack of understanding, I haven't seen it to where like, you know, this was where we sat down and showed them this and that. You know what I mean? Right. But we know that's the case though. But let's look at this 1 Kings 22 real quick. 1 Kings 22. It deputy was king. Hold on for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got these two Bibles right here, so I can. Genesis. But then again, I mean, we keep reading, we might find something. Genesis 19. Let me see what. Oh, what was that? Nah, that ain't. Hold on. What was I just looking at? 19:5. Nah, that ain't it. Hold on one more. We going to 1 King 22
All right.
and but I'm looking at something right here. 23 and 17. Okay. All right, let's go look at this 1 Kings 22 and verse 41.
41.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
All
ahead.
right. And Jehoshaphat, the son of Asa, began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab, king of Israel.
So we still talking about the same event. We still in Kings. So we just saw in 2 Kings. Now we in 1 Kings. And we talking about Jehoshaphat. But it says what? And reigned over Judah in the 4th year. Asa began to reign over Judah in the 4th year. Ahab, the king of Israel. 42.
Jehoshaphat was 30 and 5 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 20 and 5 years in Jerusalem. And his mother name was Azubah, the daughter of Shahir.
Shilhai.
And he walked in all the ways of Asa his father. He turned not aside from it, doing which was right in the eyes of the Lord.
So Asa, like, he was doing what was right in the eyes of the Lord. He didn't turn from it, but go ahead.
Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places.
Go ahead.
And Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat.
So we are looking at where the two kingdoms were split, because we see Judah, Asa was over Judah, and we see, Jehoshaphat over Israel. But go ahead, though, verse 45.
Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat and his might that he showed, and how he warred.
Hold on for a second. I'm sorry.
Okay.
What did you say? Yeah. Go ahead. You keep going.
Okay. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat and his might that he showed, and how he warred after, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah?
What is saying 46, though?
And the remnant of the Sodomites, which remained in the days of his father Asa, he took out of the land.
Go ahead.
There was then no king in Edom. A deputy was king.
So there wasn't a king in Edom. They just had a deputy. But I don't see nothing in here where. Hold on for a second. Somebody online. Hold on. John Hyrcanus, I forced the Edomites to convert to. Yeah, see, that ain't in the Bible. Appreciate you, Jacob. Yeah, I mean, there is, like, resources, sources that will tie to the Bible, but just going through the Bible, looking at, how we taught, Esau, it don't. Come here, man. All right, come give me a hug. All right, love you. I hope you feel better. Give me a hug. All right, peace out. But yeah, like Jacob, Israel, he on checking it out, and John Hyrcanus, I forced the Edomites to convert to the Jews' religion to prevent the southern areas of Judah from being invaded. So that event is what took place. How, like, you know, how, I'm sorry, that wasn't what I was just reading about how he's saying, like, John, hey, I guess this is a guy who wrote a piece pertaining to how, like, you know, Esau was forced to convert. You know, what we just read in Obadiah, we saw is that how, like, you know, they actually had Israel moved out of the land and they went into the land and called themselves us. You know what I mean? But we can see how, like, even Saul had an Edomite over Israel. Even Herod was an Edomite over Israel. We see those, you know, situations. And even when you look at Herod, let's go and look at that. Like, Herod, yeah, Herod was trying to kill Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, baby Jesus. Right. Like, he was trying to kill him. You know, but what I was going to go and look at, but I don't think it's in there, as far as in, like, his customs, like how Herod's customs were in the Gospels, you know, because, you know, like, that's how you can tell, you know, if he was taught by us because of how he ruled, you know what I mean? And it really don't give a straight rundown on Herod and how he ruled. It just shows that in this Matthew chapter 2 is how, you know, he was trying to kill us. He was trying to kill Jesus. But it don't really give you rundown of, like, what type of customs he dealt with, you know, what type of, was he keeping the Sabbath, you know what I mean? Things to that effect. But yeah, I haven't read, you know, anywhere in the Bible pertaining to how, I know it happened, you know what I mean? Even in Obadiah, it gives you, you know, what they did, but yeah, it's sources outside of the Bible that actually give you current, well, not current, but events on, like, okay, this is how they learned, you know what I mean? The customs of Israel, this is how they actually was placed in the land, posing themselves as us. There are sources that are, you know, documentaries that actually support that cause. But that also associates itself with Obadiah, you know. So I try and find something else out for you for the time being, but that's all I got. Anybody got anything? Oh, I'm sorry. Susan H. If nobody ain't got nothing, how many we don't answer in house? Was you the second or third? I think Cam had two. Yeah. Yeah, he had two statements. So, okay, so we'll go to online then, and then we'll come back to in-house, because it ain't much online. So Susan H., you know, blessed Sabbath says, blessed Sabbath, Israel and Dorsey. You know, happy Sabbath to y'all, brothers and sisters.
Happy Sabbath.
All right, so I have a question. Is African American named after two men, Amerigo Vespasius and Scipio Africanus? I want to be sure before I tell my people this. Yeah, you know, Scipio Africanus was a Roman general. You know, when you're going to look at the battle with, I think it was either Hannibal, you know how, it was Hannibal? Yeah, it was, you know, how, you know, it was the battle, and this is when he came in and he conquered the land of Ham and called it Africa after his last name. That's how you get Alexandria in Africa. In Egypt, it's because that was named after Alexander the Great. America, yes, it's named after Amerigo Vespasius. You know, Those are the names. You know, those are the forefathers of this land. You know, they're not the forefathers of Africa, but, you know, it's kind of like when you go in and you conquer something, you name it after you. You know, you go in, you take over, set up shop, and now that's your location. Of course, we know that it's inhabited by nothing but people of our color, but, you know, the land of Ham, which is what the name of it was before it was conquered, is now called Africa. And you could look that stuff up, even in the Encyclopedia Britannica. We'll take a look at it, since we ain't got nobody online. Because we know, before we go here, we know that America is what, probably like 400 or 500 years old. So America doesn't even date back to biblical times. But we do know that Africa does, because one of the sons of Noah is how we get the progenitor of the dark races, which is Ham. And we'll take a look at that too. Is that, you know, before Africa became Africa, it was called the land of Ham. But let's look at this Genesis chapter 10 first. Then we'll go to this dictionary, this encyclopedia, and then we'll look at the Compact Bible Dictionary. So let's look at this Genesis chapter 10. You know, let's make something out of it. Ain't nothing up here, so. Okay, cool, okay. All right then. That's what happened when you just start reading the Bible. Some questions will start popping up.
I got a question too.
Okay, praise the Lord. So let's look at this Genesis chapter 10, and let's look at verse 1. Genesis 10 and verse 1. When you get it, go ahead and read it, bro.
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Go ahead.
And unto them were sons born after the flood.
So these three sons was born from Noah after the flood. You know, well, I mean, they was already born before the flood. But these were the ones that got on the ship with Noah. His three sons, they wives, and his wives. What it say in verse 2, though?
The sons of Japheth.
So we ain't dealing with Japhet. We dealing with Ham. So skip down to verse 6 and read that.
Okay. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan.
So these would be, you know, your dark race of people. This would be that blend of people that, you know, the Egyptians, when they was overlooking the burial of Jacob, they saw that, shoot, it looked like some Egyptians. But nah, it was some Hebrews. They was just all a dark race. Or even when they, you know, thought that Paul was an Egyptian. They just got him confused because he was of a dark race. So we're looking at Ham being a dark race of people, and we see is that what? Cush and Mizraim and Phut and Canaan. Even when you look at Egypt, Egypt is Mizraim. You know what I mean? Which is the son of Noah. Right, exactly. There you go. Afrikaners defeated Hannibal. Yep. At Zama. All right, cool. But we see is that Mizraim, Phut, and Canaan, you know, these are the sons of Ham. Canaan is now considered to be Israel. We went in, conquered that land. Joshua went in and conquered the land, changed the name from Canaan to Israel. But we see is that verse 6 says, and the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. Go ahead, verse 7.
And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Septah, and Ramah, and Septichah, and the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan.
Go ahead, verse 8.
And Cush begot Nimrod.
So Cush had Nimrod, and what Nimrod became?
He became to be a mighty one in the earth.
So he began to be a mighty one in the earth. Verse 9.
And he was a mighty hunter before the Lord.
So he was a mighty hunter. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Go ahead, finish that up.
Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod the mighty hunted before the Lord.
Go ahead, verse 10.
And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh in the land of Shinar.
Let's go over here to this. And it's just running off the seed of it's just running off the seed of Ham. So let's look at this compact Bible dictionary. And what we're doing is we're just looking at what was Africa, or what was the name of Africa before it became, what was the true name of Africa before it became what it is today? It was Ham. All right, so let's look at Ham in the Bible dictionary. It says, I'll let you read it if you want. Right now.
Okay. Definition of Ham: the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood.
So Ham is one of the sons of Noah. And what else it said?
Probably born 96 years before the flood,
Go ahead.
and one of 8 persons to live through the flood.
Mm-hmm.
He became the progenitor of the dark races,
So Ham was the progenitor or the father of the dark races, but what?
not the Negroes.
So not the Negroes, but the dark races would be your
Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites.
and your Canaanites. This is who Ham became the father of. Let's look at this Scipio right quick in this dictionary. I mean, not dictionary, but encyclopedia. But like the brothers posted, like I was saying, is that I think Scipio Africanicus, he actually, Hannibal, and he actually defeated Hannibal, in 202 BC. Yeah, during the Punic Wars, and I guess what? Page 112 under the challenge forms of Carthage. Yeah. So this, you could do exactly what this brother did. I don't seen it before, but even what we doing right now. Sister Susan H. But you right. You dead on. As far as in you going and telling your peoples that, man, Africa was conquered by a Roman general. You know what I mean? And that's how the name got changed from Ham to Africa. Just like what happened with America. The same thing, But I don't know my alphabets right now. I know I come before T.
Every day.
All right, here we go. LMNOP. Scipio. Might not be in here. I know it might be in there. I got a book, man. I got a book from the library. It's kind of dope. It's a timeline of the world, talking about different wars and everything. But I don't think it's in here, though. I might be looking at it wrong. His first name, right? Yeah, I might be looking at the wrong dictionary. I'm in the wrong encyclopedia. I am. Hold on, one more. Because I think Jacob just gave it all what you needed, but shoot, I'll do the Liberty. We got a few in-houses. So I'll do the Liberty right now, just trying to find you something to read. Yeah, I'll do that for you. It's the dictionary. Yeah, go right here. Dang. while we looking at it, hold on. Well, now I ain't gonna try to do two things at once. I was about to ask you what's your question, but nah, hold on for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, we got time.
Yeah, we do. So yeah, I ain't for the. There we go. There we go. The slave trade. Hold on. Man, it ain't gonna be in here. Nah, it ain't in here. He's just talking about. Yeah, it ain't in here. No, sis. African Methodist. Nah, it ain't in here. That's just something you gotta pull up through the wide world web. But nah, like yeah. But you dead on though, sis. You know what I mean? As far as in the names, you definitely dead on. People got dust on. I mean, they ain't been used. Yeah, you definitely dead on. But as far as in the little encyclopedias that we got, I was just gonna try and find you something to read. But we're gonna go ahead and jump to the next since you Okay, Crystal Love, we usually start at 4:30. So you ain't too late because we go until sundown. So you ain't super late, you know what I mean? But we start at 4:30 and from 4:30 to sundown or until people start asking questions. You know what I mean? That's how long we go until. So we do this after the Sabbath, every Sabbath. Lord willing. We got power on in the building, and we got internet. We do this every Sabbath. But I couldn't find nothing in any of these encyclopedias that we got. But, you know, like I was saying earlier, and then like Jacob, you know what I mean, with the information that he presented, like, you know, this is stuff that you can go back and research it. It's all there. But that's it. What you got, boss?
Okay. Yeah, I'm reading through Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verses, I believe, 26 through 31. I think Moses was talking to the children of Israel for the instructions of the Most High, and he was referring to the tribulation. And I just want to know, was that the tribulation in the last days? You know, I said latter days, but I just want to know for sure, was he referring to the latter days here?
Deuteronomy 4?
Yeah, Deuteronomy 4, verses 26 through 31.
26. You said 26 through 31?
Yeah, 26 through 31.
Let's read it.
Okay.
Hold on for a second. Let me get that in this book. I don't know how to navigate through my unmarked Bible, so I gotta have my other Bible up here if I can't find something. And then more than likely, if I got it highlighted, I don't read it. So
All right.
yeah. So I do have this highlighted that you're talking about.
Oh, man, okay, great.
So let's see if we on.
Yeah, Deuteronomy,
All right.
Deuteronomy 4, verses 26 through 31.
Go ahead.
I call heaven and earth to witness against you this day, that ye shall soon utterly perish from off the land whereunto you go over Jordan to possess it.
Mm-hmm.
You shall not prolong your days upon it, but shall utterly be destroyed. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Lord shall lead you. and and there ye shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear nor eat nor smell. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him, if thou seek him with all thy heart and with all thy soul. When thou art in tribulation, and all these things are come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God, and shalt be obedient unto his voice, for the Lord thy God is a merciful God, he will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy father which he sware unto thee.
Okay.
So, like I said, when he spoke on in verse
30.
30, was that the tribulation in the last days, or just tribulation you're going through, period?
Nah, it's not talking about tribulation in a lot of days.
Okay.
It's just talking about, like, what he said in verse 29, or practically in all of it. Because he was saying practically is that, I mean, this is talking about long prophecy. You know what I mean? And it's also talking about, you know, what was going to take place at this point in time as well.
Okay.
But as far as in the tribulation, he's just talking about how, what it said in verse 27, and the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen. Why? It's because, let's go and read this Leviticus 26. And this is what, you know, he's referring to in this sense as tribulation. Let's look at Leviticus 26. And 26 and 33. Or better yet, 26 and 32.
32. Okay.
Go ahead.
And I will bring the lands into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at
Go ahead.
it. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and will draw out a sword after you.
So I will scatter you among the heathen. Like right now, we scattered amongst the heathen. You know what I mean? So that's why I was saying is that this Deuteronomy 4 is pertaining to then and even worldwide captivity is what we was brought in on. You know what I mean? It's because, like, he scattered us among the heathen, and then he said, I will send the sword after you. Go ahead.
And your land shall be desolate.
Go ahead.
And your cities waste.
And this is tribulation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because this would be a troubled time.
Yeah.
You know, like, you in the land of your enemies or the land of the heathen, and, like, we always being the ones shot down. You know what I mean? Like, we always, something is going on with the so-called Negro is because of us rebelling against the Most High.
Yeah.
But we see is that, like, this is pertaining to tribulation. But what it say in verse 32, though? I'm sorry. Where you at? 33.
33.
30, yeah, read 33.
Okay, and I will scatter you among the heathen.
I'm sorry, 34.
4. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbaths, as long as it lieth desolate.
So even the land now, you know, because now the Lord don't cast us out of the land. So now the Lord is like, man, even the land is going to enjoy its Sabbath. Because why? You've been scattered amongst the heathen. You know what I mean? So now you've been amongst the heathen. Guess what? I'm going to send the sword after you. If you continue to, you know, be disobedient to my word. But go ahead.
As long as it lieth desolate, and ye be in your enemy's land, even then shall the land rest and enjoy her Sabbaths.
And enjoy her Sabbaths. So, you know, this Deuteronomy 4, I mean, it's definitely, you know, speaking of some things that was going to take place in the future. But,
Yeah,
you know, when that verse 30 says, when thou art in tribulation, it's just talking about, like, when we in trouble.
Exactly. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what it's talking
I
about.
thought he was prophesying on the end time. I said,
Nah.
wow. Okay.
Not saying that he didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even in that, let's go look at this Isaiah real quick. Isaiah, hold on for a second. I'll tell you in a second. Oh, shit, I'll get that boy no. Hold on. Let's go to Isaiah 46 right quick. Yeah, Isaiah 46. And let's pick it up at hold on, what is that? Let's pick it up at verse Isaiah 46 and verse 10.
Okay.
Hold on, what is that? Isaiah 46. Hold on for a second.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't hope she get my Mike no probiotic while he doing what he doing. Tiana still out there or she already left? She left already. All right, let's look at Isaiah 46 and verse 10.
Verse 10.
Mm-hmm.
Declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure.
Exactly. So it ain't like, he didn't prophesy of us of tribulation, you know what I mean, with 3.5 years that he gonna allow, the Pope to run it, because that's what we was reading partially today, pertaining to that that Daniel chapter 7. You know what I mean? That's prophecy. That's pertaining to things that he called the end all the way in the beginning. You know what I mean? So yeah, but just in that sense, is that it wasn't pertaining to the Great Tribulation.
Yeah.
Because when we read the Great Tribulation, that's just how it categorized, the Great Tribulation.
Yeah. Separate from any other time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. But
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
what you got, Bo?
This is it's in 2 Kings chapter 2, and I guess I can read verse 1 and verse 11.
Okay, hold on 1 second. You said 2 Kings chapter 2?
Yes.
2 Kings chapter 2. And you said verse 11?
Verse 1 and verse 11.
All right.
And I'm just trying to get a little understanding on both of these verses.
Okay. Second Kings chapter 2, verse 1 and verse 11, right?
Yeah.
All right. Where am I at? Make sure I'm in the right chapter. Okay. You said 2 Kings, huh?
Yes.
I'm in 1 Kings. I'm tripping. My bad. There we go.
You want me to go ahead and read? Or you want to?
No,
Yeah, you can read it. You can read
Yeah,
it.
you read it.
No, you read it.
Oh, I read it. Okay.
Yeah, you
okay.
read it.
Okay. And it came on 2 Kings chapter 2, verse 1. And it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went up to Elisha from Gilgal.
Let me read verse 11.
And number 11. And it came to pass as they went on and taught that, behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven.
Okay. Now what you got?
I was just, it appeared that I know he didn't go to the third heaven. I was just wanting to get, you could elaborate and just give me a little insight
Okay.
on what they're talking about.
All right. All right.
So go.
So he went to heaven, but like you just said, he didn't go to the third heaven, he went to the second heaven. Right. And that's kind of like what we do when we get in the airplanes. You know what I mean? We take off and we fly in the second heaven. So that's exactly what he did. But let's read it, though. Let's read verse 1. Let's read it all the way through, and we're going to go find some other places to back it up. So, 2 Kings chapter 2 and verse 1.
Okay. And it came to pass when the Lord would take up Elijah into heaven by a whirlwind, that
Y'all
Elijah.
disconnecting? Y'all disconnecting? Oh, y'all finna go?
Yeah.
Oh, we're still online. We're still on.
You could take it loose.
Are you not taking loose?
No, this is it.
Huh?
I can get it, but this is it.
Mm-hmm.